Beatles and the Stones. What else was there, until like 67, and then you had San Francisco. But you had to travel a long way to see a good rock and roll band.
What if one of the most powerful voices in rock history wasn't forged by fame or fortune, but by pain, conflict, and a silent war the world never saw? Lou Gramm, the thunder behind Foreigner's biggest anthems, didn't just sing, he endured. And now, at 80, Mick Jones, the band's co-founder and lead architect, is finally speaking, not with bitterness, but with the weight of decades carried in silence. And what he's revealing, it's not just shocking, it changes everything we thought we knew about Foreigner. To the fans, they were a perfect pair, a brilliant match of voice and vision. In the late 1970s and early 80s, Foreigner was everywhere. Cold as ice, urgent, waiting for a girl like you, jukebox hero, and the global anthem, I Want to Know What Love Is. They weren't just topping charts, they were defining the sound of a generation, but behind the scenes, it wasn't a band, it was a battleground. Mick Jones was a perfectionist, disciplined, technical, strategic. Lou Gramm was instinctive, fiery, emotional, unpredictable. Their chemistry on stage, explosive. But off stage, it was combustible. Recording sessions were tense. Creative meetings turned into tug-of-wars. And when they weren't arguing, they weren't talking. Their dynamic fueled brilliance, at first. But over time, it became a cycle of creation and destruction. By the end of the 80s, things were spiraling. Gramm felt suffocated. Jones felt undermined. They weren't co-creating anymore. They were competing. In 1990, Lou Gramm walked out. The headline said, "Solo career." The truth? He was running for air, for peace, for himself. What no one knew was that Gramm was also battling something far worse than band drama. He had been living with severe chronic headaches for years, pushing through pain night after night. By 1997, he finally had an answer. Doctors found a brain tumor. It was non-cancerous, but dangerously placed near his pituitary gland. The surgery was invasive, complicated, and though he survived it, he didn't walk away unscarred. Lou Gramm, the man whose voice had once soared over stadiums, was changed. His appearance shifted, his energy dropped, and his voice weakened, slower, thicker, less agile. Imagine that, being one of the greatest rock vocalists in the world, and waking up not sure if you can ever sing again. But somehow, against the odds, he fought back. In 1992, he reunited with Mick Jones. For fans, it was a dream, the voice and the vision together again. They released new music, toured, brought the hits back to life. But behind the scenes, the old scars were still there. The creative battles resumed almost instantly. Jones wanted to modernize. Gramm wanted to hold on to the band's soul. They clashed over arrangements, lyrics, production, even the set list. Every rehearsal became a negotiation. Every show, a balancing act. The music sounded tight, but the partnership, it was unraveling all over again. By 2003, Lou Gramm walked away for the second and final time. No farewell show, no press conference, just a quiet disappearance. Foreigner carried on with new members, new singers. Mick Jones kept the brand alive. But even he admits, the heart of the band left with Lou. And now, decades later, Jones is finally talking. Not to settle scores, but to tell the truth. Lou Gramm wasn't just difficult. He was complex, proud, passionate, and yes, broken. Their battles weren't about ego. They were about identity. Gramm wasn't content being a voice for hire. He wanted control, recognition, a seat at the creative table. And when he didn't get it, he resisted, loudly, repeatedly, until he couldn't anymore. Mick Jones confesses that Lou's pain, both physical and emotional, was visible. The brain surgery, the vocal changes, the slow erosion of confidence. But Gramm kept performing, kept writing, kept fighting to matter. And that, Jones says, is what people don't understand. Those songs weren't just hits. They were the sound of a man pushing through agony. Every high note in Jukebox Hero, a scream of defiance. Every whisper in I Want to Know What Love Is, a cry for understanding. Lou Gramm wasn't just singing about emotion. He was living it, bleeding it, and too often, doing it alone. He faded from the spotlight. Jones stayed. But something essential was lost. And now, as time catches up with all of them, one truth rises to the surface. Behind every great band is a story the music never told. A story of power, of pain, of voices that soared together and fell apart in silence. Lou Gramm's voice shaped the soundtrack of a generation. But the silence that followed, that might be his real legacy. Because some artists don't just sing the truth, they live it, even if it costs them everything. And now finally, the story behind the voice is being heard. Let me know if you'd like this split into pacing segments for video editing or formatted for voice actors with tone cues.